Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Girl Positive, the Guy edition. And I'm here this afternoon with some amazing gentlemen. Some of them you will recognize, some you might not recognize. So thank you for joining me this afternoon. We are here just to have just an interesting and engaging discussion with some of these gentlemen about the way that they've been eating, playing, thinking, and praying amidst this COVID-19 pandemic and experience that we are all having to live through, and especially lockdown. I know for some of us it's really been tough. And that is the purpose behind our discussion this afternoon, is for some guys just to get together and to talk about life. So without further ado, I will do an opening prayer and then each of them will introduce themselves to you. So can we all close our eyes for prayer? Dear Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity that we have this afternoon and on your Sabbath day to just come and be in community together. Thank you that we have an opportunity to just engage and conversate with one another on issues that are quite pressing and that are quite important for us to live balanced lives, but at the same time, we can connect with others out there in the social world. I pray that you may bless our connection, that you may bless our discussion, and that we may all just gain something positive this afternoon. This is our prayer in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay. So to the ladies out there, this is nerve-wracking to be around these amazing guys and just engage with them on these topics. And I will give them all an opportunity now just to each introduce themselves, what they do for a living, and then to share just one hobby that catches the interest or that they engage in. So guys, it's over to you now. Maybe we can start with Alden.
Cool, good afternoon everybody. My name is Alden Jooste, and my profession, I am a quality analyst in the software development industry. And just one hobby of mine, I love the arts, but one hobby that I would consider probably my number one is music. So it's making music, it's being a part of groups, etc. So it's a hobby.
Okay, Alden.
Cool.
Hi everyone, and happy Sabbath. Good afternoon. My name is Relton Botha. I'm proudly from Hammarsbury. Mother tongue is Afrikaans. My profession, I am a draftsman by trade. Mainly focused on the oil and the gas in structures, a little bit of architecture. And my hobbies, most of you that know me, I love athletics. And socializing is probably number one, but yeah, that's me. From Hammarsbury, mother tongue is Afrikaans. My profession, I am a draftsman by trade.
Chongo.
Okay, hi everybody, and happy Sabbath. I am Chongo Mwinga. I'm a medical doctor and a radiologist. I'm originally from Zambia, very proud Zambian, and I have several hobbies, but I love to play piano and I love to be in nature. I love to hike. I'm always looking for somewhere new to hike.
Regan.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Natasha and all the listeners. My name is Regan Hamilton. So I'm a husband. I'm a father of two beautiful baby boys. And for my vocation, I'm a business owner and entrepreneur. And yeah, one of my passions and hobby is playing soccer, as well as Dr. Chongo also hiking and looking for new adventures, to take the kids on and keep them active as well.
Yeah, Nolan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nolan Africa. I'm from Cape Town. I'm a drama practitioner. And I think over the past few weeks, washing dishes has become my hobby.
Andre.
Well, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Andre Carls is my name. Yes, I too am a father, the same as Mr. Hamilton over there. My hobby, I think I can also relate to Nolan, also doing the dishes. But I love reading, love being in nature, and I love listening to people.
Mm,
Yes, thank you, Natasha.
it's a pleasure. So there you have it, a little bit of a nugget there of each of these lovely gentlemen. And so I'd love us just to get into the discussion. So, you know, when the lockdown happened, shops started closing down, the cafe down the street started closing down, malls started closing down, our favorite takeout places started closing down, and we all had to find our way around how we were going to eat and prepare food and go and buy food or get food delivered to our homes. So there was that aspect or challenge of things to really worry and think about. I know lots of people were saying that at least within the first week or so of lockdown, the food bills shot up, but the petrol, because we're standing full of petrol in the garage. So the petrol allowances were going down, but the food bills were going up. And so especially as men, I would like for us to chat a little bit about, you know, how the lockdown and the pandemic has been affecting, you know, eating, not just as part of your lifestyle, but also at home. Some of us have maybe started cooking more, or our moms or our wives are now sort of just, you know, preparing all the meals every day because we are all at home and the kids are at home and the wife is at home. So things have just taken a complete turn in terms of the way that we eat. So let's share a little bit about, you know, how you've been affected in terms of your eating habits and your eating lifestyle. Okay, anyone can go.
Natasha, I'll go on that. Yeah, so I mean, as a father, as a husband, you know, it's been quite challenging, you know, since the beginning of lockdown. You know, obviously having to change, you know, a lot of, you know, ways of doing things, having to support my wife, you know, she being a lecturer, and having to now transition from, you know, standing in front of a class to, you know, doing the online lecturing. It's also, you know, taken its toll, and, you know, it's absorbed a lot of the time. So with that being said, you know, my role as a husband, my role as a father, you know, I had to, as a lead in the home, you know, kind of step up in the midst of, you know, all the challenges around having to, you know, obviously as a business owner, trying to find work or not being able to, you know, operate under the various levels of the lockdown. Was basically just to look at, so how do, you know, from a positive mindset, from a positive way, how do I, you know, kind of reinvent myself? So yeah, so supporting the, you know, the wife with, you know, the cooking, the cleaning. So while she's busy doing her lectures during the day, I would then, you know, take, you know, certain breaks, you know, give a break to take care of the kids, feed them, bath them. But at the same time, you know, also having to cook meals might not always be, you know, up to scratch as standard, but, you know,
Vegan.
from a guy's perspective, you know, just trying to inspire and, you know, support my wife,
Yeah.
you know, in a positive way during this time.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well,
Well, I think,
Okay.
go.
Ralton or myself? Okay, thanks, Ralton.
Go.
A third of people in this world today is experimenting in the kitchen. I found that thing as an interesting fact, listening to the ladies on their discussion. Yes, it is true. Most of us now are experimenting in the kitchen. So what happens within my home? My wife and I, we alternate. So one night she does it, the next night I do it. Even if it is just pap and beans, you know. That's what the typical one. I leave the extravagance for her. She's quite good at that. So I found that myself as a man, eating is it's not a major. I won't put that as my major focus, eating, because I'm mostly thinking, a lot of thinking work. So it requires a lot of hard food, solid food for me to survive. But eating is not the priority for me now. It's basically just making sure that the family's eating, that they are okay, and that we help each other, that there's harmony within the household, especially when it comes to the preparation of food, so that my wife at the end of the day can have that freedom to do what she does. I too can have the freedom to do what I do, especially taking care of the little 2-year-old. Is up and down.
Wow.
There's no time for anything.
Crazy twos.
So basically the only mundane thing is you wake up 8 o'clock, when he wakes up in the morning, your time starts when he wakes up, and it ends when he wants to or when you want him to sleep. So it's a busy interactive day where you just really have to be constructive in how you man your time. Especially, I think that's one of the most important things for me thus far, especially with the eating industry. Most of the time goes to other things, and food is not a major. Only if needs be, then I will probably what's there to eat, or just peanut butter bread, that could suffice.
Humble man.
Old faithful.
Lunchtime or supper time again. Yeah, so it's not as the ladies, what we're gonna have like salad or a major thing near, man. Because I'm not
It is major.
about the tea, and you're gone.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. That's Natasha.
Yeah.
Well, as the gentleman just said, now I heard, there's quite a teamwork is dream work. You get them. So I'm glad that they
Oh,
support
wow.
Mhm.
Now, for me, I'm a bachelor, so I just want to paint a picture of my side of it, so it's a little bit easier for me. I stayed on my own I work in the CBD, so obviously I stay in Kensington, close to Cape Town. And so obviously I must cook for myself. And, most of the time when work is hectic, you come home, you don't feel like cooking or doing anything, so it's quick meals. And also surrounded by a lot of takeaway places and stuff like that. So I haven't been eating healthy as much. And now of the lockdown, I moved to my folks here in Malmesbury, and man, I eat like a king, man. I must give all the credit to my family and also to my lovely mother that cooks, and home cooked food is. And the cherry on the cake is I get all my food on time. You get what I'm saying? So-
Hey.
Yeah, lady out there has very high expectations.
Yo, man, I feel sorry, But nevertheless, I must say that also relating to teamwork, also that helps if everyone contributes, and that is what we do. And the more you are actually, you can survive through even a longer period of lockdown, contributing financially or things that you get connections and things like that. And also try to eat a little bit simpler, and also not the luxuries. I'm talking about the wink, wink to the Woolworths guys, get what I'm saying? Go to ShopRite Checkers, there's nothing wrong with it, you know what I'm saying? I always made a joke. I had a colleague that I always buy fruit there in Cape Town by the stores. But as soon as he found out, no, this fruit doesn't come from Woolworths, he said, no, I only eat that quality. So, so yeah, sometimes, it does help to eat simpler. And yeah, I enjoy also the fellowship here also at home while with the eating, because you don't eat alone. And most of us are all together. So that's a blessing to me.
Nolan.
Yeah.
I was initially quite concerned, I was initially quite concerned about having to cook for myself for 21 days because I'm doing lockdown on my own. And I needed to get takeaway. I needed to get that. So I was very worried about what am I going to be eating, right? Because I'm not the best cook by any means. And then it started, and I started experimenting a lot and I knew that it's only me. So if the experiment turns out really crappy, I can still eat it. I don't need to feed anybody, So, but through it, I've come to realize that there are little things I'm doing that are just making me healthier. Like I'm not a person who drinks water, and I shouldn't confess that on this platform, but I think I started drinking water more regularly. Please put that away. I started drinking water more regularly last year. And now I find myself walking into the kitchen, and instead of opening the fridge to get something else to drink, I go to the tap and I drink water. So I think there's a very conscious element of, let me try to do some healthy things because I still have chocolate in my cupboard and I know I'm going to go there, So let me try to balance it with some other stuff. And I think on some level I am.
Yeah. I just think
Keeping your figure, Nolan.
yeah, I just think another perspective that I drew from this was that because my job doesn't really require me to go into the office most of the time, and I can mostly be at home as long as I have internet connection. Just focusing on necessarily what I'm putting into my body, allowing me to focus differently, the job, like what I figured or what I found out now is that it just feels like there's so much more pressure, and you need to work at odd hours. People are trying to get hold of you at odd hours because they know you're at home. You don't have to be on the road or sit in traffic. So just making time to grab breakfast or grab lunch, just getting that time for rest is important. And so for me, it's what am I putting into my body that allows me to either focus differently or makes me a bit more tired and not focus on the work that I need to do. So like it has become important. And, listening to other discussions on people eating during lockdown, it's been, oh, I'm picking up so much weight. Oh, this is so bad, there's no takeaways, but hey, there's just eating all the time. And it's people looking for comfort because, we're living in an uncertain time at the moment. So some people draw to food as comfort for that reason. But yeah, for me, food definitely plays an important role in just living day to day. And like Ralton mentioned, you don't eat alone all the time. There's family with you. So you're eating with them, making time for your family, getting that balance. So I think, yeah, that's how eating has played a role for me.
Yeah. Dr. Chongo.
I've had a slightly different experience. During lockdown, I'm separated from my wife, but I do love to play around in the kitchen. And I found that in the first few weeks, I was baking more, I was cooking more. And until I realized that there would be another curve to flatten at the end of the lockdown if I continued in the same manner. So I sort of got a realization that I was getting quite bloated because I was still eating 3 meals a day. And there are some weeks when I would be at home because we've changed the way we're working. And so in the weeks that I was at home, I realized I didn't need to eat 3 meals a day. And what I eventually changed to doing was having 1, maximum 2 meals a day, because I was spending a lot more time sitting studying and not as much time being on my feet or being outside. And so I realized that in order to continue to feel good, I had to change my meal structure and stop buying junk and buy more fruits and try and focus on those foods that make me feel nice and light and don't jeopardize whatever gains we've made. And importantly, not create another curve to flatten.
Yeah, so speaking about flattening curves, I know, for me, especially as a woman, you are quite aware of what your body does when food enters it. So, it gives one sort of the space of having to really be more intentional about how you are viewing yourself physically. And I know for many of us, it's been quite a challenge for those that are, especially those that love the outdoors and those that are avid gym goers and those that are runners. And those of us, I know, Alden, you're a cyclist, and Ralton goes to the gym very religiously. So how has the lockdown or this COVID-19 experience affected your sort of exercising or moving or playing routine in terms of just how you keep yourself, active and going and awake?
Yeah, I think just the sorry.
Andre?
No, it's fine. Alden, continue. I'll continue after you. Sorry.
Okay, all good. Yeah, so just I think the window of opportunity that the government has given us, from 6 to 9, just gave us the opportunity, we can go out, grab a bit of a walk, or for myself, get some cycling, albeit 5K within your home radius.
Yeah.
It has at least opened up a window, just, I don't have to be confined to my space or confined to my home all the time. And even though sometimes you do go out and get your groceries, but just that time, to release those endorphins, getting a bit of fresh air, it does help, like especially added with the nutrition. So when I'm thinking about what I'm eating, I have to consider that when the cycling season opens again and I need to get fit again, like is what I ate, those chocolates, those cake, the baked foods and all that gonna come back to haunt me. So yeah, it really comes into play during that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think on my side, this crisis has really given me a different perspective on inclusivity, including my family with especially with the exercise. When it comes to exercise, I'm not as active as Ralton and Eldon and Nolan and Shongo and Regan. I'm not sure, speculating, but my main thing is I just basically just walk on campus. I live at Helderberg campus. And it's a nice big, it's like 170 something hectares. So it's a massive plot. Gives me freedom to walk. Not that, well, I'm not even maybe supposed to say that there's such a lot of, you know what I'm saying? But anyway.
You'll read between your lines, Andre.
So basically it's just that there's a lot of freedom that I have to be able to walk with my son, with my wife when time allows, because she's very busy. So basically it's just my son and myself walk on a strict time that we can spend more time together, you know. And for me, that is the best exercise that I find myself in right now. I'm not a big runner. I won't run too much or too often, but walking, I find that is more satisfying because it gives me time to just look around and gives me time to have a chat with my son, to hold his hand, to give him time to say, Daddy, look there, what's that? And I just have to explain, you know. So it gives me that advantage to spend a lot of time with him, to teach him, and to gain strength from, you know, physical strength as well. So I find this crisis being an advantage within the exercise aspect of my life. Thank you.
I found this part quite challenging. Sorry. I found this part quite challenging because having been out of Cape Town for over a year and then coming back just for lockdown, I feel really locked up. Like I can't go out and explore and walk out in nature and walk on the beach and, you know, do the promenade stuff, because I'm not a gym person like Ralton or any of the others over here. So I had to consciously start thinking about, do I now start exercising in the house and do I do stuff outside? And I mean, you can see by my face, I'm not excited about that.
Neighbors are watching and you know.
So then I started doing some of it and I got bored with some of it. And then I found other things that really interested me and I kind of stuck with those. But I must admit, I'm not regular. So I need to flatten that same curve that the doctor's trying to flatten there.
Just on my side, so we try and do some exercises each and every day, you know, during the winter period that's allowed. So, you know, whether it's going for a jog in the morning or, you know, taking the kids, you know, we've got a mini little forest at the back in Kells, you know, with the baby on the back, my 4-year-old and my wife, you know, just go out and, you know, hike in nature a bit, or if it means maybe one morning, you know, at 7 o'clock and, you know, having to look after the baby, just allow my wife the time to go for a jog or, you know, just to get some fresh air. And so it also helps with the mental, you know, strengthening the mental faculties as well. It's just each and every day doing something. And my wife does get a bit, you know, annoyed at me for moving the couches around, you know, and doing some home exercises. But that all adds to, you know, the exercise program. But it's really, you know, fun if you make it fun. But I think it's all mindset.
Yeah.
You know, like Nolan said, I had a different, I mean, I ended up looking on YouTube for videos to help me exercise. And I did something that I've always laughed at people for doing.
Was it quite bow, Dr. Tungo?
Exercising indoors, and I'm here watching the TV and trying to coordinate and follow, and it was really tough. You know, at first sign of easing of lockdown into level 4, I began to run, and I haven't run in 3 years. But it's the only thing that I could do that would make me feel good. And Regan alluded to it. I mean, it helps with your mental state, because the moment
Yeah.
you start, you're cooped up, just getting outside and getting a run, or taking a walk like Andre, it's very, very, very helpful. And I found that actually getting out, even just doing those silly YouTube videos, actually helped me feel so much better, especially when I was feeling down and feeling like the wars were closing in for me.
I want to add to Dr. Jongo what he just said, especially how you feel after you exercise. I think many people got the wrong idea. Listen, it's about losing weight, or if you into a competition or certain sport, just exercise. It releases some endorphins, and here we have a doctor also here. And that's why level 5 was, especially for me, was a complete torture. After the second week of level 5, so I took a shortcut. So what I did, I took a 10 rand in my back pocket, and I find the excuse or a reason to go to the shop. You get what I'm saying? as a necessity to go to the shop. So I go to the shop that is the furthest, that type of thing. You get if it's buying bread or batteries or something like that. So I got a valid reason just to get that exercise. So yeah, and now level 4 of this 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock, it was a blessing, because now also you have other people also on the road, and also give you a sense of where you can socialize, and even some other buddies that join social distancing, of course, you get them. But hats off to them also, that is, we are in the WhatsApp group and we motivate each other, and we work together and jog and that type of thing, and do light other exercises. So it really helps. And also being with the exercise besides the lockdown, what I figured out, experience actually, it's always nice to be with like-minded people.
Oh, yes.
If you want to achieve a certain aspect in life, and if you want to get fit, I listen to how you guys or what you guys talking about and stuff. Some is not so motivated, but if you want to achieve something, you must be with someone that is like-minded, that has a natural drive, getting up in the morning, because now it's natural. It's not like, oh man, must I go train or must I do this? It's a joy. You jump up, you get up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just want to share my routine. In the morning when I get up, the very first thing that I do, I take a lemon, I slice it up, and I pour hot water over it, and that is my very first thing that I consume. And after then I have breakfast after 10-15 minutes, get done, and then I'm on the road. And I can tell you, so your whole day brightens up, and especially now, the sun, it rises about 10 past 7, actually 7:15, around it. And to see the sun also rise, and even before the sunrise, it's like your whole day brightens up. So that is so level 4. So if level 5 is gonna come again, I don't think I will make it.
We must all make it. Thank you for sharing. And it was so interesting for me to listen how many of you alluded to this idea of how exercise, and even earlier on when we were speaking about food and eating, how it influences your mental capacity and your mental space.
Yes.
And so, especially being in the lockdown, a lot of us have seen the statistics of how much people have been engaging socially online. And for example, like Showmax and Netflix subscriptions shot up like through the roof, because people were just trying to find ways to stay busy. And so mentally, one would have to just keep yourself engaged, because I think, even before lockdown, we were just living these busy mental lives, busy around the clock all the time. And now you have to go into a space where you need to think about things differently. You need to watch what you are watching, watch what you are listening to, watch what you are being inspired by, and just everything that you are taking in that's molding your sort of thinking space. How have you been handling your thought life in terms of the lockdown?
I've become very aware of my thought patterns and just what I'm thinking about, what I'm focusing on, what I'm doing, and how that's influencing how I think. So, and I must admit, like Proverbs 3, 5, 6 has been in my mind all the time, like, trust the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding.
Yeah.
And that has made
Understanding.
me kind of feel a little bit okay to not worry as much. It's like to think more and focus more on God and trust in God. It's really come into play a lot during this lockdown, like how I think, and just listening to music. I would put on something and I would listen to it, and it would do nothing for me, and I'd like, maybe I shouldn't be listening to that, and I'd change and put on something else. And I've taken to script writing, and I think that has helped me deal with all my many different personalities, because I can put them all into one play and literally play them out, and that has also helped me keep sane, because I know about all the multiple personalities that I do have. And so being able to play it out on script is fantastic. It doesn't make me feel like I'm going insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like what Nolan, what you're saying is, I think, throwing from that, and also for me, what's helped me was about, how do you strengthen, your mental capacity? How do you stay sane during this time, especially, being within the confines of your walls, your home, having the kids, running around and having to do the chores and so forth. What's helped me, through this process was, challenging myself each and every day from the time that I wake up as we exercise is, so how do we reinvent ourselves? Because as you've mentioned, Natasha, at the beginning, the world is changing. It has been changing. I think, the pandemic has, basically hit us smack in the face to say, look, you need to change, because if you don't, this is what's like. So what's helped me in terms of personal transformation and challenging myself in reinventing myself is, how do you stay present in the present without worrying about regrets of the past or the worries of tomorrow? So it's about how do you mentally get yourself to a point of, being present where you are today, going through not the motions, but going through each and every day, taking it one day at a time. And so whether it's reading books or, reading articles or blogs or, reinventing yourself by taking up a new skill. That's what I've done during lockdown as well. So instead of doing one thing, I've, kind of looked more towards the digital online, platforms. How do you reinvent yourself? So it's not prescribed, but it's just, how do you kind of help yourself strengthen your mental, capacity?
Yeah.
For me, I've also had, like Nolan, sometimes when you begin to get lost in your thoughts and your personalities, I don't think I have as many, but I do have a few. and I can't script write like Nolan, but some of the things that have really helped me, I mean, I've spent hours and hours on end speaking to my wife, and credit to her for tolerating me. I've spent hours speaking to relatives on the phone, spending more time. I've definitely spent more time with my music than I usually would. And the one thing that I appreciate about the lockdown, it has given me time to, sort of slow down a little bit, think and remember what's important. I'm reading my Sabbath school lesson more and reading the Bible more, because you have a little bit more time and a little bit more quiet time to try and focus. It's not the constant mad rush of life that you want. And you begin to realize you actually were very tired. And you were actually going like a rat on a Ferris wheel with no stop, no end to it.
So true.
You wake up, it's the weekly schedule, and it's Monday to Friday, and then you're busy on Sabbath, and then Sunday you're preparing for Monday, and the cycle continues. And if it's one positive from the lockdown, it's given me time to just gather my thoughts, plan out my next 1 or 2 years, God willing, and try and get closer to God, get closer to those who mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
I want to add to what Dr. Jongo said, especially now in this modern age, I think most of people, of us, our careers is like a rat race. You need to get stuff done. And there's this word in English that I actually don't like, or the sentence, the question, are you done? Ralton, are you done? you know. That's always, you know, because our industry is there's always drawings that needs to be issued. The guys are waiting on site, there's this and that, you know, and that adds up to your whole life cycle. You don't have time usually to eat properly, and basically even exercise take a toll, your family takes a toll, and even some other duties also that you have, that you might perform at church and that type of thing. So everything you have to squeeze in a limited space of time. And so yeah, this is something that I appreciate, and you realize that certain things is more worth quality for time, is more quality for of spending quality time with certain things, of building up your skill. I think Reagan mentioned that, you know, and you realize there's other things that you really neglected. So this is a time also to do that other thing, to clean the garage or whatsoever that you say, I don't have time. So it's time that you need to use wisely. And I'm sure, I'm glad actually that I did my time. I used my time very wisely. So someone that says, you get what I'm saying, they got nothing to do. I mean, find you something to do. Brush on that hobbies, man. This is the time you can do that. And there's no one chasing you. So I want to make this illustration. The colleague that said, if you look at the glass that is half full, you can look at two ways. As either glass is half full or half empty. The choice is yours, how you look at it. So yeah.
Thanks.
I like the points. I like the points. Alden? Alden?
Sorry, go for it.
Oh, thanks, Alden. No, I like the points. I'm learning from the sages here, the four senior guys. Thank you for the experience of learning from you guys, and especially looking at perspective and cultivating new habits to form. My thinking during this time, Natasha, has been very perplexing, if I may put it that way. Thinking about the crisis that we find ourselves in, especially those that have lost loved ones to due to the COVID-19 virus. It's probably an extremely painful experience for the family to go through. Part of what I'm studying is pastoral counseling, and you always think about the crisis that a family goes through during this time. Yeah, I'm sitting, I'm happy, I'm healthy, my family is healthy. What about the family that is going through this, and how do I minister? Especially the thinking pattern is, how do I reach out to those families that have been afflicted by this pandemic? It's really a painful thought to think about those families having to isolate and having to bury their loved ones by themselves, or not even include the community members that has also had a good relationship with the person to being part of their funeral ceremony, for instance. Or even being close to someone that is not feeling well. You know, people always just need that words of affirmation, that words of God is going to be there, or just to touch them, you know, just touch the shoulder or touch them, or just do something. People need that. They need a sense of other-centeredness. They need people to be there for them. And the other thought that I also had was, where am I now with my relationship with the Lord? I think this has really brought a lot of self-introspection for myself personally. Where am I now with the Lord? Looking at where I've been in the past and asking, and I don't know if the guys, I don't know if you men have asked yourself this question. I don't know if the listeners have asked themselves, where am I now? Where's that fire that was once, you know? Where's that fire? What is going on? And I've realized that one should not look at oneself. I should not look at myself and where I've been, because where I am currently is where God wants me to be. He knows exactly how He wants to prune, how He wants to chastise a person. So these are all the thoughts that have been going through my mind. So now how I've been dealing with all these thoughts by reading books as to the times that we find ourselves in, especially reading this book by Clifford Goldstein, 1844, Made Simple. I don't know if you guys have read that book before. It's a very fantastic book that teaches us or shows us where we are in prophecy, and how it is that we as people can understand the 2,300-day prophecy from the Bible using using the Bible, the investigative judgment, so forth. Reading into things like that, and also reading about John Webster's theology on Adventism, towards a more radical Adventism, reading things like that, to finding out where do I stand as an Adventist today. And what I can do, how I can communicate, converse with others about the imminence of Christ's return, and also having that personal relationship with him now, just having that one-on-one intimate time with him. So this is how my thought process has been happening since lockdown, even before lockdown, as to how to better help someone to understand what Christ can do for them if only they want him to do it for them. So this has been my thought process during these times. And I know that through these platforms, I see on Facebook, I see on Zoom, I see on YouTube, plenty people is just popping up with all the good ideas on evangelizing, reaching out to others, and also the businesses people, the doctors, there's the drama guy Nolan, there's Regan, there's Alden, using those tools that they have, using their skill to be able to reach out to someone in a very professional, profound manner. And I know that God, through this time, will really work wonders that we have never, ever thought him reaching through human instruments as we are.
Thanks,
Amen.
Thank you.
Alden.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Pastor.
Hey, be careful.
Yeah, I think for me, the experience has been quite different. People saying they have more time to think and just do other things that they have never really had time for. But the pressure, being in the industry that clients or the economy, the business industry, depending on what field business you're in, but clients are suffering and the money is not coming in. I hear stories of people who've lost their jobs, people who have lost their sources of income, and they are sitting with nothing during this time and they lose everything. And it's become a really uncertain time. And I think the pressure is there to, whatever industry you're in, certain industries, the pressure to perform, the pressure to, deliver on time, as Ralton mentioned there, are you done? That question, pops up so regularly throughout my day, how far is this project? How far is that? Is this going to be done? And, it just gets so much. The stress is there, the anxiety is there. And so a lot of these things go through your mind. And one thing that really I've seen is that you really tend to see what is important in your life. And is it your work? Is it your family? Is it your hobbies, the things that you find most or do with most of your time? And like Andre mentioned there, you're doing that self-introspection and you're looking at, hey, is my life right with God? How's things going with my relationship with God? So there is time to think about that. And in your quiet time, morning devotion, ask yourself those questions. And I think for me, just having that quiet time with God and telling him my troubles, my sorrows, Lord, it's going to be a stressful day ahead. Please give me your strength just to help me carry on throughout the day. And I found that it does help, not only during lockdown, but just that extra bit of faith, not in holding on to God, but the faith that God will hold on to us. I think that's really been motivation for me and strengthening for me to kind of tackle and navigate through whatever it is we face on a day-to-day basis.
So thank you, Alden. So clearly I can see, there is definitely some kind of golden thread in how we've been sharing about eating, how we've been sharing about our exercise, doing out of the box things, trying things we haven't done before, and then also in our thought life. And all this sort of really culminates also into just how, or it all just starts depending on how we view and engage spiritually in our lives. And so as we conclude our conversation, I'd like for us just to speak for a few minutes on, like how all these things that we've just spoken about, how it really impacts us spiritually, and even more, how our spiritual view and space on things impacts the other things that we do, like the eating and the exercise and the thinking. I think many of you have already made a few comments that sort of alludes to our spiritual stance and state of things, but maybe let's just chat a little bit about, how things, our spiritual view of things have been changing because of COVID-19.
Okay, I think I'll start on that one because, there's a certain part of where I go my bouts to town or to the shop where I also pass my local church in Malmesbury. And there's a lot of thoughts that came to mind of, I'm very grateful for my church also, where I grew up, because there's a lot of values, a lot of skills that I picked up, that I developed in my character, that I must give tribute to my local church and even the people that have passed away already. And so I'm grateful on that point, and also of the quiet time, yes, because there's plenty of time now for quiet time to spend with God. And pray and also your study, it goes together also. That is all aspects that strengthen you. It's almost like you can't separate the one from the other. And especially when you pray and study, and there's a word in Afrikaans that what ons sê bepeins. We ponder, and what you've just learned and what you just prayed and how the quality time that you spent with God. It is not a quick thing. It is a quality thing, and you can really empty yourself with God. And also of doing introspection. One of the gentlemen also mentioned it. How is your relationship with God also? Regardless of lockdown, there is no pressure. So the quality of your relationship with God, this is an opportunity, because one pastor also said this is like a test run. I think as Professor Walter Veit said, this might be a test run. You get what I'm saying, for what is yet to come. So we cannot attach our faith or religion to a certain church or certain structure. God must be in our hearts. That is a personal relationship. And it might be also severe that we will be totally on our own, totally banished from our folks, which I believe it will happen. So we need to be prepared, really spiritually. I think that really this is a light one, a wake-up call for us to really start preparing for what is to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like what you're saying, Dalton, because from my perspective, it's complete dependence on God. So through your prayer life, through my prayer life, and through kind of reading the Bible, it's about as you've mentioned, am I right with God? And not only am I right with God, but also my fellow men. And the encouragement that I take from this opportunity rather during this crisis is to and somewhat make amends for either relationships that needs mending, or spending time in the Word of God, whether it's looking at sermons or reading the Bible or studying your Sabbath school lesson. It's making yourself and preparing yourself for a greater purpose, which is beyond our vocations or our family or how we eat but it's also about how we think towards preparing us for the future, what happens beyond this, not just from a work perspective. I know there's the day-to-day, challenges that we need to be, dependent on God for, but ultimately it's preparing us for a greater purpose, which is, for His kingdom. So using the time to, work on those relationships with others, but at the same time also strengthening your relationship with God. So that's helped me quite a lot.
Yeah. Amen.
Alden.
Yeah, I think I just had to realize, how important a prayer life is. And it's been really crucial in, waking up in the morning. It's been crucial going through your day. It's crucial for, when you go to bed at night. There's so many worries and concerns that we have. And one verse that always stands out for me is cast all your cares upon Him, for He cares for you.
Amen.
And that those words really carry me and motivate me that whatever challenges I might be facing or going through, and sometimes not be able to see certain loved ones, and being with friends or being able to socialize, and just fellowshipping with one another at church, just having that not there, and it is preparing us for what is to come. But we really need to have God in our hearts and just have that focus on Him, that whatever we go through, He will carry us through. And just for me, that's remembering that, keeping that in the back of my mind, in the front of my mind, and just living out that experience that as he's carried me through, he will carry my family through. He will carry those that I care about through. And I think, you know, just sharing that testimony, sharing that love with those around you who need it. People who are losing loved ones during this time. It's so important, whether it be that message, you know, we can't go and visit those people as we used to, but just letting those people know that, hey, we are there. And as a church, as Christians, that we are there to show love and affection to one another, albeit from our homes and from a message or from a video call. But I think that's just been really important.
Yeah,
No,
I like that. I've started doing a daily Bible quiz. That it's a book that I'm working through right now. And as I was going through it, I realized that I'd be sitting in different parts of the house. And I then also started reading and doing devotion in different parts of the house. And I suddenly got into this habit of wherever I am doing a devotion, the prayer that I'm going to do is going to focus on what is in that room.
Oh, wow.
So if I was sitting in the kitchen and I needed to pray about my chocolate addiction, I'd pray about that because the chocolate's in the kitchen, you know? And I'd come to the lounge and I'd sit here and there's a TV here. And then when I'd pray, I'd look around and I'd say, thank you for having couch and space. And then I'd also say, but Lord, help me to monitor what I watch. And so I've been doing this in various rooms, and it's just been a really cool thing to do. And although I've been doing it on myself, I'm sure it's something families can have a really fun time doing too. You know, so if they are deciding to have worship in someone's bedroom tonight, and then in the lounge tomorrow, and then in the kitchen or the dining room, it just really made me look at the things that I have and be really grateful to God for everything He's provided me with. And then also look at the indulgences I have and then how I am working with that, you know? And Philippians 4 you gave to us, it really says pray about everything. And when I read that as well, I thought, but then that's exactly it. I can pray about the fact that I have a carpet on this floor and it's not cold tiles. That, you know, so I'm a little warmer than other people may be. And I really learned to appreciate so much of what I have in the space that I'm in right now.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I love what you said, Nolan. One of the things that has actually struck me here is I haven't prayed as much as I have prayed going to work as I have in this in this pandemic. As some of you may know, I'm working at Tygerberg, and Tygerberg has the highest numbers in South Africa.
Sure.
And I was joking to a friend last week and saying that, you know, sometimes it feels like every time I go into work, it's like I'm playing Russian roulette.
Wow.
But you know, going through some of the texts in preparation for our meeting, Proverbs 3 verse 5 says that you trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your understanding. Verse 6 I find very profound also. In all your ways acknowledge him and he shall direct your path. You know, what this pandemic has taught humanity is that with all the wisdom and advances in modern medicine and all our technological advances, something as particulate as a small virus can cause such upheaval. And if there was any time when we were to realize that actually God is in control, it's now. Because nothing has happened. We don't know what to do with ourselves. We're fighting and nobody knows for the first time, not even the actuaries, they're not sleeping. They're trying to predict what's going to happen. The data is changing every week. We have meetings every week where new information is coming. And there's so much confusion. Experts say something and another expert contradicts. And, you know, this just shows that as long as we don't acknowledge God, our paths are not directed by him. And we end up having confusion. and that's what we see. That's what we see now. And I think one of the things that this pandemic has really taught me is that we have to really depend on God for direction. The world is in turmoil. We don't know what the world is going to look like after the pandemic is done. We all had plans. Maybe you wanted to buy a new car next year, or move a new house, go somewhere else, and everything is upside down. And if it's one time when we need to have faith and trust God's leading, it is now.
True.
Amen.
That's true.
Amen.
That's absolutely true. Thank you, Chongo, for that. There's this verse that always keeps me going, especially at night and in the morning throughout the course of the day. It's, "Thou will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee."
Yeah.
We all know that verse
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah.
And for me, just having that concept of "Thou will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee, O Lord, because he trusteth in thee." I guess it's a very important aspect of our daily lives. Just having our minds stayed on him, always having an attitude of praise, always having an attitude of gratitude, a gracious attitude, being grateful for what you have, even though it may seem very tough. It's just having that perspective of, God is going to come through. He's going to do what he needs to do at the end of the day. And I like what Regan was saying. Thou will keep him. What Regan was saying about reconciling with others, not only looking at yourself, but also having that ability to reconcile with someone, to say, "Look, this is the time I need to just apologize, for what I have done wrong to you." But just to have that courage to be able to get out to that extent. And yes, it is a prayerful matter for all of us. We need to constantly pray for each other, pray for one another where we have erred one another. Constantly pray for ourselves, because we are living in this time and this of Earth's history where our love for each other is going to just wax cold, where we're not even going to care for each other, where we're not going to want to spend time with each other because of fear, because of the unknown. And I guess our sense of knowing who God is, I guess once we have that knowledge of who he is, especially in this time where it's really suffering, when it's really terrible times. I always think about in fact, I battled about it. If you just allow me another minute, I always battled with this concept. Thank you, Natasha. With this concept, where is this man? Where is God if there's such a lot of suffering? What is going on? And then I realized the answer, that God suffered. He suffers whilst we are suffering. I don't know if we have thought about it, that he suffers whilst we are suffering. And remember how Christ suffered on our behalf, how we bore and he had all our transgressions on him. That was suffering, that was separation from his Father. And I guess for people just to get that concept that, look, God is there, God will be there for you. God will be there to encourage you. Just know that he went through what you are going through. I guess that's the only encouragement that I could give. Like the verses that we've been quoting thus far, the favorite verse as to how God can help people is by Proverbs 3 verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, do what, and you will direct your path. Thank you for giving me.
Amen. Amen.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing. And with your permission, I'd actually like to just maybe take 1 or 2 minutes for, and I hope this will be okay with you, but I just feel like it's so important that because of the context of the discussion that we're having, that maybe Dr. Chongo, just for the next 1 minute or 2, just share with us, if you had something, especially as a frontline worker, we would like to really acknowledge you. You are a medical doctor working really on the tip of the front line. And I think if you can just address us for the next minute or so in telling us, what is it as a frontline worker that you would like to encourage, us that are in lockdown, people out there that are listening to this discussion, men out there that are also, you know, they are fighting for their families. They're still going out every day. Some have lost their jobs. Some have taken massive pay cuts. So we are all in danger once we step out our doors. But for you, you know, your passion is people. And so you are in this space and you are in this situation. What can you share with us just to make us really realize how important it is for us to adhere to the rules and to just have a strong faith in God?
Yeah. Thanks for giving me the chance, Natasha. So, you know, I know that there's a lot of information going around, and some people, because of the length of lockdown, are beginning to doubt that this thing actually exists. But, you know, from a medical point of view, what I would like to encourage people to do is just try and keep whatever measures are being given to us and try and stay safe, because the truth is this thing is actually real. On our side, we see the numbers climbing every day, and sometimes you want to feel helpless because you don't know where this thing is going to end and when it is going to end and how it is going to end, because you see the numbers going up every day. You know, when the minister announces the numbers on TV, it's just a number to most people. But on our side, we begin to see the human cost. And you know, when you begin to lose colleagues, we lost 2 colleagues in the last 2 weeks at Tygerberg, and one gentleman who we worked closely with was admitted and well, and it's those sort of things that make you realize this thing is going, and the only way that you can survive, and I know it's tough in different ways for many different people, but I think of all the verses I read today, Proverbs 3 verse 5 and 6 is one of those that really, really struck me and reminded me, you know, it's one of my mom's favorite verses, and I remember her reading it to us as a child. You know, we really, really need to trust in God, because there's no other way that they were going to survive. I mean, and you know, even as we're trusting in God, it's important that we do our part. You know, we have to take care of our hands, not touch your face, keep your masks on, watch what you eat. One of the things I do, similar to Rautan, is I make a concoction in the morning before I go to work, and I'm drinking that religiously, because I normally take it when I have a cold, but I'm now taking it because I know it's boosting my immune system, and it comes back to what we talked about when eating. Watching what you eat those things that will give you immunity strength to fight should you get ill. Exercise, because that also helps your body fight disease. And you know, we talked about thinking. Try and think on those sorts that build you up. Watch what news you are reading, because too much news will also get you down. Read the Bible, because there's no other book in the world that the Bible which can actually boost your spirits. Listen to the music that will bring you closer to God. Listen to those messages that will bring you closer to God, and just take care, because you know, this thing is real, and if we don't trust God, there's no way to survive it. And I think the most important thing is to remember that in Daniel, the 3 Hebrew boys, when they were speaking to Nebuchadnezzar, they said, you know, if God, if we don't bow down and you throw us in the fire, our God can save us. But even if he doesn't, we will still not bow down.
Amen.
And I think that's a very important thought to think. I mean, even if we don't get saved from this, we need to be in a spot where we're ready to, if we have to die, we will die. But also try and take a thought for those who are struggling. If you're in a better position, try and help those who are less fortunate.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chongo, for sharing that with us. And really, we
Amen.
pray for you. We acknowledge you and your bravery and your courage. And so also for all the health workers and those on the front line out there that's not just listening to this program, but, you know, that we find in our churches, in our communities, in our families. And so as we end this discussion, I'd like to say thank you to all the gentlemen for joining me and for their willingness to share. And so as we end off, I'd love for those out there who are listening to us just to enjoy the special item, which we will share now, conducted or done by Alden Wester. Please enjoy.
Amen.
Amen.
Search my heart, Lord. I want to know you more. Mold me and make me after your own will. Whatever you would have me do, I'll do for you. Whatever you have me do, I'll do for you. Whatever you have me do, for you alone.
Thank you for joining us, friends. And once again, thank you to the gentleman that has joined me this afternoon on our discussion on how to try and be positive through the way that we eat, the way that we play, the way that we think, and especially the way that we pray. Thank you once again, and God bless all of you. Bye.
God bless.
Bye.
Amen. Bye.
Bye-bye.